How do you run your content when you do more than one thing? Welcome to Not Another Business podcast with me, Toby Goodman. If your professional achievements, activities, and offerings have built a personal brand over the years, you could end up overwhelmed, wondering what to publish and where, while ensuring there are useful levers and clear signposts between your projects. Dayna Steele is a Texas legend, a rock and roll radio Hall of Fame DJ, a two-time congressional candidate, an author of 17 books, a playwright, an Alzheimer's advocate, a fact finder, an emailer, a podcaster. She lives to serve. In this conversation, she recaps how I've helped her streamline her processes and tech to make sure the right message is connecting, whether it be via the medium of podcasting, social media, blog posts, or email, all while keeping an eye on building her assets where she maintains full control. We go on to discuss what she could do next to get even more eyes and ears, and hat tip to Dean Jackson, whose name I briefly forgot when we mentioned the super signature. If you're in business and identify as pod curious, or your podcast isn't working out the way you'd hoped, I've got more for you, including episodes, my best-selling book Narrow Podcasting, and Profitable Pod Method skill sessions. For all that and more about how I can support your business, head over to narrowpodcasting.com. Dayna, you called me the other day and you had loads of questions about your podcast and your podcasts and your content life and what was going on. So I thought it'd be good to recap.
The question I asked you is, I've got very successful and active platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. Blue Sky and I are not sure if we're dating or not. We're discussing a relationship, but 50,000 plus followers, not bad for just goofing off on social media. I'd like to have a lot more, but there you go. I also have a couple of email lists. One I just started, another one that's got about 5,500 people that have been with me off and on over the years through rock and roll, through politics, through various and assorted podcasts and jobs and books, etc. So my question for you was, with all of these YouTube, with all these places I can put content, and I have audio and I have video and I have promos and I have shorts, and I'm moving to an island with no electricity. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm never going to post again someday. That's my dream. But until then, my question was, when I promote these things, when I say, hey, here's a new episode of #Surviving Alzheimer's for caregivers, what link do I share? And do I share YouTube? And if I share YouTube, do I share the audio link? Or do I share the video link? Or do I share the link to the whole thing? Or do I share the link to the promo? And your advice was so good and so simple that I've been able to streamline it pretty quickly. And I still need to do a few fixes on my website, but I'm sending everybody to my website, where I now have a pop-up that says, hey, this is what I do. And if you want to get the morning facts, or I'm a caregiver advocate or whatever, sign up for my email. I promise it's going to be useful every day, whatever I send you. So I have that. And everything I post now, I say, if you need more, go to daynasteele.com. And I learned that from Toby Goodman. And I've learned a lot from your book, Narrow Podcasting, but it was just that one bit of advice to fix my newsletter sign up and host at least the latest episodes of my podcast on my website, which, by the way, I do. My back end is Squarespace, and I did find a way to embed it into a page on my website, so it can be done. I was on a 3-hour flight, so I just started looking up, how do I embed my podcast on my website? And I found it. And it's great. I've got so much traffic, Toby, going through there. I've got so many people signing up for the email, which I was not really using. And that's another thing you said, is your mailing list is your asset. And here I've got this asset of over 5,000 people. And when I changed it to daily facts, the very first facts I sent out, I said, hey, I'm going to start doing this every day. It's a list of facts, nonpartisan, just facts that I curate every morning and verify for 2 hours before I send them out. I'll understand if this is not your cup of tea and you want to unsubscribe. I really thought I'd lose a couple thousand on my list. because it isn't rock and roll and it isn't politics and whatever. I've had maybe 49 people unsubscribe out of 5,600. And my open rate, my delivery rate is 99%, Toby. My open rate yesterday was 43%. So I know I'm getting eyeballs, and it's all thanks to you. And how do you do all this? You have to be extremely organized. And that's not what people want to hear, but you have to be. As I make a list of things I need to do today, and I have a notebook. Look, I just scribble. It's okay. What do I need to do? I need to add a book section to my website so that when people click on books, it doesn't take them away. I would rather it take them farther down my page. They see all my books, and then maybe they can click on one of those and it will take them to Amazon. What's more important for me right now is to record my script that I need to have memorized in 5 weeks for my play. Yes, it's my play and I wrote it and I star in it, but I still have to memorize. So you have to have a list of priorities every day. What's the most important things you need to do? And the last couple of weeks, it's been to get that mailing list organized, make sure when people do subscribe, it says, right now it just says thank you, but I've got to dig through that sometime this week and figure out how to add thank you. If you'd like to listen to Surviving Alzheimer's, click here. If you'd like to listen to Dayna's Diner, click here. So it's just a matter of connecting the dots, and you so did that for me. And that is a really long friggin' answer to the question you asked, but
I love it. Thank you.
But I learned so much from you, and I was so excited to try it, and I could see what you were saying. And yes, it's a lot of work, but once you get it done, right now, I'd like to have hundreds, but right now I've got dozens of people signing up every day this week over the last 7 days for my newsletter that never would have done that if you hadn't taught me this.
I love that. What a lovely thing to hear. So there's a couple of things for context. You have got so many facets to who you are. I've known you for a while now, and there's so much. There's so many interviews you've given, so many different things that people can discover about you, and you're amazing, and people should absolutely do that. But right now, Dayna Steele is somebody who has written and is starring in a play about Alzheimer's and is an Alzheimer's advocate. He's somebody who's keen to share researched facts about what's happening in the world to her audience, because my feeling is, because you are well known to a certain amount of people, more than most certainly, even probably before you were quite well known, you have a sense of responsibility to help. I've been a benefactor of that. And so that's why I know you're doing that. So there's the Alzheimer's thing, there's the facts thing, there's your own personal creativity that comes into that. And there's the Dayna's Diner, which is about your past life dealing with rock stars and all of that.
That's just a fun thing. I don't even know if anybody's listening to it, but I figure I love talking to old friends it's everybody from Paul Rogers, one of the greatest rock vocalists of all time, who happens to be a neighbor in Palm Springs, and Spike Edney, who happens to live in London, but he also lives part of the year in Palm Springs and has played keyboards with Queen for 40 years. But it's also people like my friend Kyle Jones, who started as a roadie as a teenager, listening to me on the radio, and now is the CEO of Pioneer Coach that does all the transports and the big fancy double-decker buses and all of that. So that podcast is just a labor of love. And when I have time to do it, or I run into a rock star friend that I haven't seen in a long time, like Wally Verson. Wally was a tour manager for REO Speedwagon, and he's been a tour manager for everybody, but he started out as a bodyguard for Freddie Mercury when he was a football player at Northwestern in Chicago. And they're great stories.
They are great stories. There's a third podcast as well, but let's be also really clear. Your first profession is radio DJ.
Yeah. Social media to me is just another radio show, and podcasting is just an extension of that. I have been on the radio since I was 17 years old. I've tried going back in the last couple of years because you can do it online now.
Mm.
And I get a lot more satisfaction out of social media and because it's immediate. And
Mm.
when I was on the radio in the 80s, that was really the heyday. You didn't have podcasts. You didn't have Spotify. You didn't have iTunes. You didn't have any of that. If you wanted to listen to Van Halen, if you wanted to listen to Motley Crue, if you wanted to hear when the next concert was coming to town, or if there was a damn hurricane headed to Houston, you listened to Dayna during the day on KLOL. And it was very immediate. Not only you could hear your favorite songs and you could find out what was going on in your hometown, but it was also a vehicle, as you said, to help people. And that just comes from my mom. My mom was constantly helping people. When I was in high school and people would run away from home, they'd run away to our house. It was like, great. Now, where am I supposed to go? I remember when I left radio, somebody said, the question I have always been asked is, what do you miss most about the radio? And I said, the immediacy of being able to help someone or give them information. And you can do that now.
You can. And the thing that is different from you to so many of my other clients is that you have no problem talking into a microphone at all. You're not short of things to say. You're a great communicator. You're a great interviewer as well. So there's been all of these other things that you've learned about the slight differences and the nuances between live radio and podcasting, and obviously social media as well.
I was taught by some incredible radio people.
But for you personally, what you just described at the beginning of this conversation was, I just told you to tie everything back to one place, which is daynasteele.com.
But it's not that much different than what I was taught in radio. And I didn't play any different records than anybody else on the radio in Houston or anywhere in the country. I didn't read different weather forecast. I didn't read different. I was reading the same thing everybody else was reading. But there were two lessons I learned. The first one is always say your name. Going into a break, coming out of a break. Rock 101, KLOL with Dayna Steele and Van Halen. So it was always tying those together. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back coming up in about 15 minutes. I'm going to tell you where you can get Van Halen tickets. And here's Motley Crue with Dayna Steele on KLOL. So I was tying it back to Dayna Steele. Now I just have to tie it back to the website. And the other thing I learned, are you listening? This is absolutely the most valuable information I can give you for speakers, for writers, for podcasters. Never say, it's cold outside, it's cold in here. How are all of you? Because everybody that's listening to you, whether they're in a live audience or they're listening to your podcast or they're reading your post, everybody has one heart and one soul and one brain and one set of ears. And if they think you're talking to them, you are their friend. So why do people remember me? Why does my next door neighbor got married and his dad used to live in Houston and he had me cornered for 30 minutes at a wedding in Palm Springs going, I'm a steel worker. I listened to you. With his daughter, his college-age daughter, looking at her geeky, shy dad going, who is this person that's made this 16-year-old boy come out in my dad? But why do people remember me and not other DJs? And I think it's those two lessons. I said my name constantly. You never went into a break or came out of a break without saying your name. So it's the same thing now, tying it back to daynasteele.com. And
Right.
I always made people feel like I was talking. The best advice I got was a program director who would hotline me every time I broke that rule. And he'd say, remember, whatever you say, the next record that's coming up, information, PSAs, weather, I want you to say it as if you were saying it to your best friend, Christy, and she was sitting right in front of you. How would you tell your best friend it's going to be cold tomorrow? How would you tell your best friend to prepare for a hurricane? How would you tell your best friend how to get tickets to Motley Crue on Friday? So how would you tell your friends? And that's what the best podcasts are, the ones where I feel like they're talking to me.
Yeah. Audience of many ones, right?
Many ones.
Many. And just to prove your point even further, I can remember being in a taxi in Holland with an American bass player who was telling me he lived in Houston for a while. And I said, "Oh, do you know my friend Dayna?" And he went, "Dayna Steele." He got a review. I was like, no shit. That was 5 years ago. So maybe less. A couple of things that I want to give you as well today, because it sounds like the only thing you need to do, it's like you're remembering what you were taught before, which is everything comes back to Dayna Steele. And
as it should in the world.
As it should. Everything should come back to you. And so it's easy to just say .com at the end of it, and then that's the new version.
Yeah.
DaynaSteele.com. The other thing you're doing when you're saying Van Halen with Dayna Steele, you're not saying that you're not taking credit for writing the songs, but you're showing people, you're introducing. So then as a listener, I'm thankful that Dayna Steele has maybe introduced me to this Motley Crue tune for the first time or whatever. So that builds your own credibility and your trust just by showing people and guiding people to good stuff.
Doug Pennick from King's X, he said, it's one of the interviews on Dana Steiner. He lived in Houston and listened to me, and he said, anytime we came home from tour or whatever, if I needed to know what the newest records were, I knew I could turn on Dayna Steele. And it wasn't Dayna Steele making these decisions. It was KLOL and the program director and the music director and the record companies and whatever. But yeah, because I constantly said my name in the same breath with the artist, you become tied to that, which now I say, I'm Dayna Steele. This is #surviving Alzheimer's. My love letter to caregivers. You can't do this alone. It's why I do this. My mom's been gone for 8 years. She's been gone 8 years. And I could just move on, go do something else. But no, I learned so much during that time with my mom at #surviving Alzheimer's. That is what Dayna Steele's going to do now, because nothing's changed. There's no cure. There's no cause. There's no help for caregivers. There's no financial help for caregivers. So why do I do it? Because I learned so much. And I love passing on information. It's just what I've done since I was 17. I don't know how to shut up.
Okay. But here's the challenge. You've got Dayna's Diner. You've got the Alzheimer's thing, which is so many things. It's a play. It's a best-selling book. It's all of this stuff. And you've got your new podcast called
Off Their Rockers, for women 50 plus who we're not dead. I was listening to that crazy podcast. Oh God, it's fallen out of my. Kamala Harris did an interview with her. It's a podcast for like women in their 20s and early 30s.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, she's got like a bazillion followers, and she's getting like presidential candidates and people on her podcast. And as I listened to it, I had this aha moment of, I'm 65. I have a script writing partner, which is a whole other story. She's older than me. I've got all these friends, and we're still rocking. We're still creating, and some of them are dating, and we're still having sex, and I thought everything this woman in her late 20s is talking about is applicable to women over 50, except for maybe the birth control part. Right. And then we replace that with menopause. And so we started this conversation, Lisa and I did, Off Their Rockers, to just talk to other older women who are like, we're tired of being, excuse my language, fucking invisible. We're still pretty hot. We're still pretty creative. We're still rocking this world and having a damn fine time. And we're not going to be quiet, and we're not going to sit down, and we're not going to fade into the woodwork and just go be grandmothers and babysit. We're just not. And it's been so fun, Toby, because we're finding more and more women who are like, hell yes. So we're going, I don't know, but I'm having fun.
I love that for you. So the challenge from what the hell's going on over at DaynaSteele.com is it rather than setting up a separate thing for this and that, because when someone comes for advice about their mother who has dementia and they end up on a podcast about women in their 60s having sex, that's confusing. How do we do that? The only thing you really need to do, okay, yeah, you could set up 3 different businesses if you like, but I've
tried doing that before.
I've met people many times who have tried to set up a number of businesses from ground zero at the same time, and it's a nightmare because
there's 3 different websites, and there's 3 different Facebook accounts, and there's 3 different Instagram. I'm Dayna.
Take it right. You're Dayna Steele.
And these are the things I do, and you can go listen to them or read them or watch them, or whatever.
So at the front of your website, and I haven't looked recently, but at the front of your website, it is literally, I'm Dayna Steele. If you're looking for X, click here. Y, click here. Z, or Z, as I would say, click here. And then you're choosing your own adventure. Do you remember those books, the Choose Your Own Adventure books from back in the 80s? Maybe even earlier, I don't know. But at school, they were a thing. Will you go through the blue door or the pink door? We'll turn to page, and you do that. That's what you're building with your website. Everything's Dayna Steele. Everything's on one roof. Everything's on an email list. And you still have the ability to segment your email list where you can tag people with interested in Alzheimer's, Dayna's Diner.
Here's what I did. You told me to put something on that newsletter sign up. That was an umbrella.
Yep.
Or at least brought people in for one thing and maybe they check out another thing. So it says, I got a lot from my mom. Her energy, ability to find a good deal, belief in the truth always, and a strong desire to help others. To name just a few things, I will always stand up for what is right for my steel workers. A much appreciated legion of friends, you. There's also still a bit of rocker left in my soul as a rock radio Hall of Famer. Sign up for my newsletter and I'll bring you daily facts, the latest podcast episode, where the play is now, and more.
Love it.
That's what I do. And if you don't want it, then don't sign up for it.
And when you've got a specific event, like when the play's on, which I know it's going to be really soon, you can talk to that. And you can say, if this is interesting, click here. And then you can have them basically tag themselves as interested because they happen to be local and able to get there. Whereas if they're at the other side of the world, probably not related. So you still want to make sure at some point where you can, you're sending people content that they signed up for. But I love that. The email, also in the footer of every single email, you've got your daily facts email that you're sending out at the moment. What's your sign off?
The very bottom of the email, of course, is my social media. But above that, there's a button that says, if you need more resources, click here. It takes you to the website. I don't know. Do you need resources on the play? Do you need resources on Alzheimer's? Do you need the podcast? And then whatever's my biggest priority is just under the photograph. I use an image I usually put in the email. And that is the play. Because not only do I want to plant the seed, I'm doing this play and I'd like to sell some tickets, but I'm also trying to plant the seed that we are touring this play around the country. We had some people that tried to get us to bring it to Fringe. That's $100,000.
Yeah.
And I just can't ask people for that kind of money anymore. I just can't because there's no return on it really. And, but that's my priority and so I keep that static right now. Is the play's going to Arizona, the play's going to Arizona. And a lot of people click on it. And I do the facts, and then the bottom of every fact is a call to action. Today it was, if you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation to my play, I have a grant fund that was awarded to us for an art form making a difference in the world. Yesterday it was my friend Brad Meltzer. The call to action, though, was We Are the Beatles. That's his new kids' book.
Yep.
And so I put a link to that because I think that's friggin' amazing. He does books like I Am Abraham Lincoln, I Am Billie Jean King, I Am Rosa Parks, where he teaches little kids about. So sometimes I use that call to action to promote me, probably 3/4 of the time. But then we go back to what you said at the beginning of this interview. I love to help people. I love to connect people. So if I can tell you about a friend's new book, or I can tell you about a friend's new TV show.
So there's a way you can do that and have real fun with it and not write loads. there's something, some people call it a super signature, right? And it's basically a sign off that you can adapt a little bit depending on if you've got the time, but you can have a generic one that just helps, that you can cut and paste if you haven't got time. So you can play with it. But the version is pretty simple. Whenever you're ready, here's how I can help you. Number one, support your loved one who has Alzheimer's. Click. Then it goes to that stuff. Read an awesome book for children, or share this awesome book for children. Click, goes to that thing. Listen to a very honest podcast with me and my friends talking about what it's really like to be in our 60s and still sexually active. Click, right? All of those things. So they're just bullet summaries of that are framed in as benefits rather than
I'm taking notes.
than say at the moment, it's cool. There's a lovely picture of you sat in a theatre. I've got the email up now. It says, The Woman in the Mirror, my dark comedy play for caregivers, will have its Arizona premiere June 12 to 22. That could say, are you a caregiver in Arizona? Come and see this. Tickets still available. Click here. So if the question is the caregiver, the answer is the woman in the mirror, rather than I'm promoting my play and this is who it's for, because the woman in the mirror is highlighted and doesn't necessarily mean anything unless you've seen the play.
Right.
I haven't.
And that goes back to me, the audience of ones. You know, what am I going to say there or ask there that?
Yeah. Are you a caregiver? If so, here's how I can help you right now. Read a book that will help support you through caring with a loved one with dementia. Are you in Arizona? Come and see the play. Or if you're not, click here for tour dates. Maybe you can help us get it into a venue locally if it's not. So again, doing the thing that you're used to doing on radio, which is including them and giving them power, if you like, to be part of, to be a steelworker, to participate. This is not me telling you how it is. This is me building a community and leading a community, but the community is nothing without you, dear reader, dear listener, right? You've done this all your life. Doing that in copy and on email, it's what's the order? What's the order? If you are nowhere near Arizona, but are you somebody who has witnessed someone's slow decline through Alzheimer's, or are you a friend of somebody who's caring for blah 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 blah? This is a great way to help. Link to tax deductible donation.
Yeah.
Rather than I'm raising money for my thing, because if that comes straight after I'm hanging out with rock stars in Palm Springs, people are a bit like, potentially, hold on a minute, why's she doing that? So be clear. It's still about what's in it for them. I know you, so I know why you're doing it, and I know all the reasons. They don't necessarily when they join, because they've not known you as long as I have. So everything is about what's in it for them. And there's a really cool book called The Status Game by, I think, Will Storr, that talks about everyone's playing a status game at any given time. Number one is dominance. Sometimes that can be positive. Sometimes it can be negative. Think of leaders in history and the present. Other times it can be virtue. And again, that's a big thing on social media. Here's how much I've donated to such and such. And aren't I great? And oh, well done. Like the virtue signal is, or the dominance play. I'm going to win the game. Those people. We are all playing a version of that, because that's what being human is at any given time. But if we can do it in a way that makes people feel like they're part of it and they're contributing, I want someone to go down to the local pub and say, my best friend's dad's uncle passed away from Alzheimer's, and I saw how upset he was. I was really happy to find this fund that this incredible woman, Dayna, you want them to say that. You want them to use what you've got as part of their story, that you're enabling people to help caregivers, even if they aren't one. So it's not just the caregiver, it's the friends of the caregiver that are super important. I was working with a client today in healthcare and they are delivering home care. And the client obviously isn't the person who's being treated, right? That it's probably the son or the daughter or the partner who is making decisions for this person at the moment. So
Right.
and we know that because your whole thing is about the caregiver and not the patient. But then we can move further. Who is your best friend who was watching you go through what you were going through when you were caring for your mother? You had a number of friends, you have an incredible husband, you have family, etc. But they all saw that. And you can also help them. So there's that ripple effect of, okay, so who's on the layer out? Because if you can do that, are you watching a friend deal with their parent in decline? Here's how you can help. If you're in Arizona, you can take them to come and see a play. If you're not, you can donate to this thing. If you'd like to provide a bit of light relief, you can listen to this podcast. So you can still tie everything back because everything is Dayna Steele. The world is Dayna Steele. So is that helpful?
It is.
Awesome.
Just reframing how I put that on the facts and each day.
Yeah.
Usually by the time I've curated the facts and verified them for 2 hours, I'm so brain dead.
Yeah.
It's like copy paste here.
You can use GPT and AI just to be like, bullet point these for me. Give me a bullet point. So in today's newsletter, how to listen to a podcast about sex, how to help a caregiver who's going through some shit, and how to make a real impact to people who are whatever, right? All of those things. And then you could ask GPT to create a 3-line bullet point summary of your entire thing, put it at the top so people can see it, and then do some sort of callback at the bottom, because you know what people are like with long emails. They don't read them. You don't have to hurt your brain anymore because we've got AI to do that. Just proofread it, obviously, but you're like, oh yeah, it's that simple. So there's a quick injection, and you could do something. I'm not trying to give you extra work too much, but you could do a Friday.
You do every time I talk to you.
You could do a Friday wrap-up email where you feed all of your emails for the week back into GPT and say, give me a bullet point summary of this as an email. Boom, send that. So you're doing one less email a week, but you're getting people, because
See, I see where you're getting with that, but with what I'm doing with the facts, the reason I'm doing it is because I read for 2 hours every morning,
right,
whether I do a list for people or not. And most people don't.
right,
And there's so much, we're being so inundated with things that are happening so fast in the world.
yep,
So I try to take the things that are the most, what are the things people are going to talk about? Like we used to say, what are you going to talk about around the water cooler? Now
yeah,
it's what are you going to talk about on social media? That it just has to be daily. There's too much.
yep,
I try to put something light in there, like the kid who ordered 70,000 dum-dums on his mom's phone. And Amazon was not going to take them back or return her money till the press got involved. So I try to give people something to smile about. Now, the facts are hard to summarize just because there are 20 different facts of things that are happening,
yeah.
especially in the States right now, every single morning.
And everywhere all the time. So how much?
I like that. But it's definitely good advice that I need to put it more as a call of, are you trying to find a way to have more energy as a woman over 50? There's one simple thing you can be doing. Click here.
There's also,
by the way, the answer is sleep for all of us.
yeah, there's also a setting, definitely in Squarespace, where people sign up on a form, and you can do this on probably any website tool these days. People sign up for a form and the default just says, thank you. But you could actually redirect it to a page that you can hide. So it's not in the menu, but it's like a hidden unlinked page that's /thanks or welcome. And as soon as they do it, it will redirect to, yo, you've just signed up at daynasteel.com. Here's what you can expect. Emails about this, stuff about Alzheimer's, podcasts about these things. Click here to get stuck in. And by the way, when you send those emails out, I know you started these as posts on social.
And then people started asking because they were missing them.
I am missing them because the algorithm's a nightmare, which is exactly
Right?
why own your email list and you can get access 100%. So that's awesome. Are you keeping them anywhere else? Can I go to your website and read a daily thing that happened 7 days ago, 20 days?
No.
Because that it's one more, it's a tiny step, but if you pasted that into a blog that just said facts May the 1st or whatever it was, then people can go back to the archive. Dayna's fact archive. Boom. You've done all the work for that. That's just a copy and paste. That's more content. That's more content juice for the algorithms, right? The whole strategy with many governments, and certainly seemingly the administration where you are, is you flood the zone. Like, it's a strategy. So people are like, did he really say that? Or did so-and-so really do that?
Yeah, and they should be able to search with keywords on the blog.
If you put the words, for example, Pope.
Yes. Everything I've written about the Pope will come up.
Right. Everything you've written about the Pope will come up. And you know what? You've done that work already. So why wouldn't you do that?
I read, I curate, I verify, I write, I copy and paste. And you're right, it's copied and I paste it into Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, the newsletter. And it would be not that hard to just click over to the blog and paste it there as well.
Yeah. Where like, here's a really cool thing. In a year's time, if you're still doing it in a year's time, you go back and say, this time last year, these were the facts. Today, these are the facts. And here's what's changed because of...
I'm going to need a staff if you keep this up.
Yeah. That's the plan.
Do it all in one place. It does make it easier.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, awesome. Okay. I really appreciate everything you've given as well. You do show up and give every single time. And I know there's so much I've written about in my book. I wrote about Audience of Many Ones and I've all of that stuff. But the way you articulate it because of your experience and because you were doing it before podcasts were a thing, just backs up that. And I talk...
You were going to say before you were born, and I was just going to...
Not before I was born. No way. But it backs up also the difference between when I grew up listening to the radio in the UK, there weren't the host read ads. They were produced jingles with music and production. And then people realized that they were cheaper to do when the host read the ad because of the transfer of trust from the host to the listener.
All about trust. It's all about trust. And that's why the few times I've accepted advertising on any of the things I've done, it just has to be something that I truly use and believe in.
What's super quick? What's been most useful about this conversation for you?
Flooding the zone, taking what I've already worked on and utilizing it for something else. It would be very easy for me to start a blog on my website. That and taking your advice, which is the advice I give, audience of ones, and putting a call to action at the end of my facts that doesn't benefit me, it benefits the person reading it. Thanks for keeping up with the facts. Thanks for staying informed. And if I can help you in your caregiving journey, click here. That sort of thing.
Love it.
And again, that goes back to my radio days. It's got to be immediate. What's relevant right now? Before I hit the send button, what is really relevant right now? What's weighing on people's minds?
Love ya.
Love ya. All right. Peace out.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please give it a 5-star review and share it with someone you think it would help. If you're a business owner considering podcasting or you're not getting the results you wanted from the podcast you have, I've got more episodes, a best-selling book, Narrow Podcasting, and Profitable Pod Method skills sessions, all designed to help you where you are right now. For all of that and how I can support your business, head over to narrowpodcasting.com.